Okay, good evening, everybody. Welcome to the latest episode of Miami Hurricanes Talk with Danny. My guest this week, introduce yourself from Cardinal Companion. Can you please introduce yourself to our
Yeah, of
audience?
course. Danny, how you doing, man? My name is Josh. It's a pleasure to be on the show. Thank you so much. Before we start, though, I want to give a little shout out, if you don't mind.
Please,
One of my
please.
really good friends, Alex, is a huge viewer of yours. So I just want to give him a
No
shout out
kidding.
and say, what's up,
All
baby?
right. I'll have to let him know. Tell myself thank
Yeah.
you.
Yeah,
A
of
couple of
course.
things I looked at last week when I looked at the film, when I just watched the Virginia game last week.
Yeah.
Things that stood out to me. Um, um, was last week when I looked at the tape, the film, and when I watched the game, the thing that stood out to me, Josh, was about the fact that they allowed 5 sacks.
Yeah.
How is Louisville preparing? And I want to start with defense first. How is the offensive? How is the offensive line coach from Louisville, Richard Owens, preparing his offensive tackles to face a big threat the way Bain and Mesidor will present on Friday night?
Yeah, so I've went through this a couple of times on my content, but if you're unfamiliar with Louisville's offensive line situation this season
Mm-hmm.
specifically, it's been rough to say the least. They have
Yeah.
not graded well via PFF. On the field, it just hasn't looked very well. And they faced their biggest task of the season this year with Messidor and Bain, and I think Miami is probably a top three, top five type of defensive line that you're going to see this year in college football. So they have a huge task ahead of them. The best thing that I think you'll see from them is you're going to see a lot of shifting sets, which is something that they've ran in the future against really good D lines, specifically like Clemson last year, which worked really well. Along with that, you're just going to see so much movement along that defensive line where you're just going to see a lot of stunting along that. And you're not going to see your traditional, hey, we're going to line up and go straight forward. Um, Hopefully, that's what you see. To be completely honest with you, I don't think it will work very well. I don't think we're equipped on the offensive line to really handle Miami's line of scrimmage. And it's going to be a major point of contention throughout this game, in my opinion. And it's really
Oh,
going to
no question
determine
about
if
it.
we're going to move the ball or not.
Yeah. How is basically how is Louisville's defense preparing to take on that physical Miami running game and Carson Beck on that offense?
So, to be completely honest with you, Louisville's defense isn't bad, which is weird to say in the Jeff Brom system. I think analytically right now they're sitting around 10th in the nation. Statistically, they're top 15 in the nation. You're going to see the same thing that they've done all year with their 4-2-5 sets. The big thing that they really like to do is they like to kind of hide out Antonio Watts, who plays more of a star role in this defense. They like to hide him out where he's either going to drop into coverage or else he's going to pick up a running lane or he's going to be blitzing. And historically speaking, with Beck, he's looked amazing this year. But throughout SEC play last year, that's kind of where he struggled in that 4-2-5 is identifying a star or a money backer. And if they can get success with that, which Watts has had a really good year this year. So hopefully speaking for Louisville, I think they feel confident about the defense.
I think so too. I looked at them too, and I looked at them last week. They had 2 sacks last week
Yeah.
against Virginia. But the
Yep.
thing Miami's going to bring is they're going to bring a very physical running game. Yeah,
Yep.
they have 3 good backs: Fletcher, Lyle, Brown.
Yep.
That's going to be a big task, especially against one of the best offensive lines in college football.
Yeah.
I
No,
mean,
yeah, absolutely.
the question when I look at it is, you have my thing is what will be the most intriguing one-on-one matchup we see in this game?
Personally for me, it's gonna be Agu, which is one of Louisville's cornerbacks against Tony.
Okay,
Louisville's cornerbacks, they rebuilt the room completely through the transfer portal. They only brought back one guy out of that room. They've done very well this year, and they've graded very well, especially through PFF. But at the same time, outside of Pittsburgh, we haven't seen that much of a dynamic passing game that we played against. We had the FCS opponent. Then you have James Madison, which is a run team and a run heavy team at that.
yeah,
Then Pittsburgh, Virginia, and Bowling Green. Bowling Green doesn't really count because, I mean, no
no,
offense with Bowling Green.
yeah, I'll leave that
Pittsburgh,
there.
That is the one thing. So if you see that matchup, if Louisville can get really good on that, I feel pretty good about the defense in total. Just being completely honest with you, run defense really isn't that much of a concern with this defense because they've done the front seven is so well on paper and statistically that you're really worried about the passing game, trying to make Beck make bad choices.
Yeah, that's going to be the thing. Beck. I know I've seen him 3 times this year against Notre Dame, against South Florida, against Florida. I mean, there are times I saw him make bad decisions. That's when he got in trouble. But when he's on his game, I gotta think Beck is one of the best quarterbacks when healthy in college football.
No, I agree. He's had a very phenomenal season, and really, for Louisville, it just comes down to make people make mistakes. Because quite truthfully, the way that you're going to win this football game is cause Miami to make mistakes, but don't make any mistakes yourself.
Yeah, that's going to be. I was at the Louisville game last year. I can tell you, being in that place is just amazing. But but it was an offensive explosion last year. People don't think it's going to be that this year. This is a different Miami team. This is a more physical Miami team. It's at home. It's at night. And the team, I think Miami should take care of this. I'll get to the predictions in a minute.
Yeah.
But let me ask you this: we've heard about about the star players. But who's going to be a less heralded player for Louisville who could have a massive impact in this game?
Man, I got to go with Dakari Collins. He's Louisville's wide receiver 3 right now. He's gotten involved in the game quite a bit through the intermediate passing game. He's more like your 15-yard guy. He's more of a physical guy, in my opinion, out in the wide-out room. But if he can get some separation and act as a relief valve for Miller Moss, you could see Louisville being able to move the ball. Because obviously everyone knows about Chris Bell and everyone knows about Colin Lacey. Those are 2 of the top 20 wideouts in college football. But if you get your wide receiver 3 involved, this passing game, it could be legit.
Yeah, and I know Brom is usually a very good offensive coordinator, one of the best offensive minds in football, in my opinion.
Well, and it's so we all think that it's so interesting, but the offense has been such of a struggle this season. Statistically, they look very good. Especially, it's more of a Miller Moss conversation. But statistically, they look very good. But in actuality, they're extremely turnover prone. They really stall out drives, and there hasn't been that much consistency yet. So if you see that consistency, that's a good sign for Brown.
Yeah, I looked at the numbers from last week. Louisville ran, to be honest, they turned the ball over twice, and that's what cost them against Virginia.
Yeah.
Obviously, against Miami, you turn the ball over, Miami's going to make you pay.
Exactly.
Without question.
Yeah.
Another thing I would want to ask is the Canes, our receiving core, Tony, Daniels, etc., against Louisville's corners. What are you looking for in that matchup if you're Louisville?
So if I'm Louisville, I'm looking to – I'm sorry, excuse me.
Sure.
I'm Louisville, I'm looking for press coverage is the big thing, and just to be physical. Because if you can be physical inside of 10 and then let your safeties come over top into coverage, that's been your recipe for success under Ron English with this defense. And that's when you can kind of disguise your coverages, especially from your safeties. Our safeties are really ball hawks, is the best way I know how to put it. And they can come down on a route. They can blow up a route, or they can even just make a play on the ball. That's what you want to see if you're Louisville. That's not what you want to see if you're Miami.
No, we don't see that at all. A thing I look at is let me see. Let's talk about the keys to the game.
Yeah.
What is the single most important factor for Louisville to win this game? Is it controlling the line of scrimmage, winning the turnover battle, or is it something else entirely?
In my opinion, it's Miller Moss specifically, and we have to see Miller Moss, Louisville's quarterback, play his most consistent game all season. At the end of the day, Miller, statistically, he looks fine. Analytically, he's okay. But with that being said, there are drives where Miller Moss goes out, and he looks like the Miller Moss you expect him to be. He looks like the 5-star, the $2 million guy. That's what he looks like. At the same time, he's thrown 3 pick-sixes in the past 3 weeks. And a lot of that is just bad decision-making. So if you can come out, you can see Miller Moss play a solid game, play just his brand of football and not get in his own head, that's where Louisville's offense is going to have a lot of success, because that's the major
Yeah,
concern, is the ability of the offense to move the ball routinely.
yeah. I look at Miller Moss, 34-48 last week, 329, 2 touchdowns, 1 pick. But Louisville's running game, Isaac Brown, Kejuan Brown. But I think
Mhm.
Isaac Brown's going to be the guy we're going to have to deal with, and especially Chris Bell is somebody we're going to have to contain in this game. What are your thoughts on that?
I agree. So the running game's been a little banged up. The injury report just came out today, and Kejuan Brown will be out this week. So you're really going to be reliant on Isaac Brown and Duke Watson, which is your 1-2 combo. Isaac Brown, freshman All-American last season, 1,000-yard rusher. Duke Watson, true freshman, 700-yard rusher. They're a really good combination. Uh, I believe they'll be fully healthy this week. So for them, the game plan is going to look like get the ball to the outside and just make a play, because those guys are playmakers.
Yeah, there's no question. These are playmakers for sure. I look at the defense last week for Louisville. The thing I look at is how is they gave up, to be quite honest, last week total of they gave up 237 yards last week while they're getting 383. But again, what killed them was turnovers and 5 penalties for 60 yards. Your thoughts on that?
Yeah, so last week is one of those games where Louisville's defense, you look at the score, I believe they gave up, was it 37 points to Virginia?
They gave up last week 30 points total in the
30.
overtime loss to Virginia.
Okay, so they gave up 30 in total. Realistically speaking, they're only giving up 16 in that game. You have a pick six from Miller Moss, and you also have a fumble by Isaac Brown that's returned for a touchdown. The thing with
Uh,
Louisville's defense this season is, if we go further into it and look on a long field, which is anything more than 60 yards, Louisville's defense has only
yeah,
given up 20 points this season.
wow,
So
pretty interesting.
the defense has been solid, because you look at that Virginia game, that was an offense going into the game that was averaging 40 plus points a game.
Wow,
So to turn that around to 16, face value, it doesn't look very good, when you look statistically, but watching the game, it's a little bit of a different story. Most of Louisville's defense, they graded above a 75 last week on PFF. They had
hmm
a fairly decent game. And really, I feel like I sound like a broken record, but the big thing comes down to Antonio Watson, that defense. That's
yeah,
why you run 4-2-5, is for that ability to have that star backer or a money backer or whatever terminology you're going to use in your program. And if you can really disguise Moss here, you can do some hot boy stuff, and you can really it's hard for a quarterback to read, man. It's really hard.
no, yeah, that's going to be the thing. The defense is going to have for Louisville to win. They definitely got to step up in this game. There's no doubt about that. I mean,
Yeah, yeah.
they allowed 5 sacks last week. They got 2 last week. But I think the thing I look at, D'Angelo Hutchinson, 11 tackles, 1 solo, 2.5 tackles for loss versus Antonio Watts. And another thing I looked at here was Tay John Holloway, if I'm spelling that right.
Yeah, Taywan Holloway. Yeah.
Yeah, 4 tackles, 3 solo. Tell us about Louisville's back end.
No,
Hutchinson, Holloway,
the safety
Jojo
room,
Evans.
the safety room is, I would argue, it's one of the better safety rooms in the ACC. It's a lot of veteran guys. They really do like. So typically, what they'll do is one of their safeties will play back in like a single high, and then the other one will come up for run support on obvious
Yeah,
run support downs, along with an Antonio Watts who plays. If you don't know what a star backer is, it's like a hybrid linebacker safety.
yeah, like a 4-2-5, pretty much.
Yeah, exactly. And so what you'll see, man, is they're a good unit. They're a really, really good unit. They're good in run support. They're good in pass pro. I mean, they're a solid unit. They like to ball hawk a lot. They like to blow up routes. It's a solid room, is the easiest way I know how to put it.
Yeah, and then you're looking at, hopefully we'll get a lot of Elijah Lofton this week, our tight end, and of
Yep.
course those receivers. That's going to be the matchup I'm looking at. Is the back end of back end of Louisville's defense against Miami's receivers and tight ends.
Yeah.
That's the one I'm going to watch. But then I really look at the running backs, Fletcher, Brown, and Lyle. against Louisville's front seven. That's going to be another matchup. Can Miami win that matchup? That's going to be key for me.
Yeah. No,
Another thing I'm going to do this. I'm going to also get you out of here on this. Do you have a gut feeling how this one will shake out, and what's your reasoning? What's your prediction?
So I personally think if I was a bettor, I'd be taking the under in this game. I know that's
51.5 last I checked.
Yeah, I know that's been kind of the hot thing to go with for a lot of these gambler specific guys. I'm not a big gambler, just a heads up.
Okay, let the record be known.
Yeah, I take the under. Personally, I think that Miami's defense is one of the best defenses in the country. I think so is Louisville's. They're both top 15 units. When I look at Louisville, I see a lot of sputtering production and offense. They haven't been able to, fully get that offense clicking on all cylinders. Miami is a very good offense. Beck has played really up to his potential, but at the same time, we've not seen Beck consistently identify a star backer in a 4-2-5 system, and that's a major problem with Georgia, and I think that could be a problem this week. I think Miami still does win, though, but I would personally say they win more closer to that 7-point line than that 13 line.
Miami will be a heavy favorite the rest of the way.
Yep.
Louisville is a very good team. We've had our problems with Louisville in the past. Many say this is a different Miami team mentality-wise than in the past. I got to think with the gauntlet coming up now, I think it's going to be one of those games where if we don't have a Mario special, and what I mean by that is heavily favored, higher ranked team against a team you're supposed to beat and don't beat, that becomes an issue. That being said, though, I think Miami comes out in this game, takes care of business, and I think Miami wins going away. Again, as long as we don't play down to the competition, I think Miami wins this game. I'm going to go in this game, Miami 31, Louisville 17.
Oh, all right.
I'm going with that. What's Josh, right? Josh?
Yes, sir.
Josh, thank you so much for coming on. Greatly appreciate it. By the way, if you're watching this on YouTube, please like and subscribe. It helps the channel out tremendously. If you're looking for Canes Connection, I will put the link in there in the description. Give them a follow. Go to canesconnection.com and become a member today. Help student athletes do that. Anyway, thank you, Josh, for coming on. Hope to see you again. Safe trip. I don't know if you're going to the game Friday night.
No, I'm not actually. I'm not making the trip down.
Okay. Yeah, I'm here in New Jersey. I'm in Atlantic City. But anyway, enjoy the game. We'll talk again down the road.
Good deal. Thank you for having me on, man. Y'all have a great night. Good luck.
And, by the way, before you go, I'm sorry about this. What's the best way for listeners to connect with you and follow your work? And any final thoughts you want to leave with our audience?
Yeah, of course. So to follow us, find us over on Twitter at the Cards Companion. Pretty easy. I'm at Tropics Card, Josh GUCITP. On YouTube, you can find us at Cards Companion as well. It's not only Louisville content. We've been doing a new weekly show called All Around the South, talking about SEC and ACC football all year round. Miami fans will love our last two episodes. Last week, we talked about, is Miami the best team in the country? Some of us think so. And then this week, we talked about the downfall of a football program up in Tallahassee. So I feel like those are two fun topics for Miami fans if y'all want to check those videos out. But that's called All Around the South. Hit it up. If not, find us over on Twitter at the Cards Companion, at Tropics Card. Pretty easy. Final thoughts, though, Dan?
Go ahead, please.
I genuinely think Miami is one of the best 5 teams in the country right now. And I made the argument a couple of weeks ago. I think realistically, the way I'm looking at it, you have 1A and you have 1B. 1A is Ohio State, 1B is Miami. And I think you guys are going to have a great season. I wish you guys the best of luck. But y'all can still get to the college football playoff with 1 loss.
Yeah.
So I would not see that loss this Friday.
Yeah, as long as we take care of business, we'll be just fine. So thanks, Josh. We'll talk again, man.
You. Yeah, absolutely. Y'all have a nice night. Thank you.
Thank you. All right,